The next thing we're going to look at within Python is the use of lists, and a list allows us to store multiple data items in one place. So the data items can all have the same data type, i.e. it can be a list containing nothing but strings, or else we can also have lists which can contain a mixture of different strings. So to declare a list, so I'm just going to create an example. The example list, capital L, the second word, and I'm going to say equals, and then I'm going to use the square brackets. And these are very important for reasons we'll discuss after, but we have to make sure that they are square brackets. Now inside this I can have, let's say this one is names, Jim, Bob, and Sue. And now if I ask for the values of the list, it's going to spit that back out. So in this example it's containing just strings, but I can, if I do another one called example list 2, it's equal to, again, square brackets, I'm going to say Jim 17 Drew Mary. So this will show that we can also contain mixtures of different data types within the same list. So you can see it doesn't necessarily have to be all the same data type, but a lot of the time it will be. So now just again for this example, I'm going to create a list called Manchester United, and in these first two examples I have been actually adding items to the list as soon as it's created. But if I want, I can create an empty list, which is done by this, by just going Manchester United. So that's the name of the list. Manchester United is equal to, and then just two square brackets with nothing in between it. Now that has created a list, so Python now knows that it's a list, but at the minute it is empty. So an interesting thing that we can do is we can use the append function, which basically lets us to add items into a list. So if I now go Manchester United, and to do that we just type in the list name dot append, and then inside ordinary brackets, or the circular ones, I'm going to append in the name of a few different players. So I'm going to append De Gea. Now if I call the Manchester United list to see what it holds at the minute, you'll see that it now contains one name. So I'm going to continue to do this, and I'm going to append in 4 more players, so we've got maybe a 5-a-side team. So I'm going to add in Smallin, just paste in again. I'm going to change the name, Di Maria. Rooney and Van Persie. And one thing to note about the append function is the order in which it adds it in. So now if I call this list, you'll see that the append places the item to the end of the list. So we start off, we added in De Gea, so I went here, and then each time we append, it adds it to the right. So the append will always add an item to the right hand side of the list. So in this, we might want to have it as a substitute, we might want to have Falcao. Now you'll see that that will appear over to the right hand side. So that's as append, and that adds the item, that inserts the item to the end of the list. Something which is also worth mentioning at this point is the way that lists are indexed within Python. So you can see we've got De Gea, Smalling, Di Maria, Rooney, Van Persie, and Falcao. Now, in terms of Python list indexes, it starts off with the number 0. If I just put this in as a comment using the hashtag, so De Gea would be number 0, or index 0 or position 0. And so on. So the first item in the list is always position 0 or index 0. The second item is position 1, third item is position 2, which is a bit strange, but that's the way that lists work within Python. They start from position 0. So another function we can do to add items into a list is we can actually insert them to a specific position within the list. So in my next example, I'm going to insert another defender and I want them to appear in the list between Smalling and Di Maria. So I'm going to go same idea, Manchester United, and this time it's dot insert. And the first thing that we see, you can see it pops up here, is the index and the object. So it's asking us what index, i.e. what position do you want it to go in? Do you want it to go at the start, i.e. position 0, 1, i.e. position 2, and so on, and then comma separated by the object. What do you actually want to insert into the object? So I'm going to insert into position, I want it to go where Di Maria is and push Di Maria up, so now I'm going to insert into position 2, comma, I'm going to insert Jones. I'll close that, and now I'm going to press enter. Now it's added it, it's accepted it. Now if I call out this list again, you'll see we've now got De Gea, Smalling and Jones has been added, and Di Maria is now pushed up. So insert allows us to add things into a specific position of the list. If I wanted to add something to the start of the list, I would put it in position 0. So that's the insert function. Again, it's useful to be able to add things into a specific function within the list. Another useful function that we've got associated with lists is called the pop function. And what that does is it basically just removes an item from a list. So if I want to go Manchester United dot pop, and I want to pop, I'm going to pop off Smalling, so he's in position 1. Press enter. You can see it's popped out the value of Smalling, and now if I call the list again, Smalling is no longer in it, so that deletes Smalling from the list. Very useful. And again, if I wanted to pop out Di Maria, I would now have to go position 0, 1, 2. Pop out 3 would remove Rooney, pop out 4 would remove Van Persie. So again, this idea that the indexes start from 0. 0 is the first index for the list. Another useful tool that we have related to lists is the ability to check the actual length of a list, i.e. how many items it holds. And to do that, all we do is we use the function len, short for length, and I want to find the length of the list Manchester United, spelled correctly, and now I'm going to press enter, and that's going to tell me that there are now 6 items in the list. Again, useful to be able to do to actually be able to check how long a list is. Another useful thing that we have, let's say we've got name is equal to, let's say, manager name. It's going to be a string Louis van Gaal. Another interesting feature that we have is we can convert any string into a list. So to do this, we just use the list function and the name of the variable that we want to convert into a string, spelled correctly, and you'll see that just pops it in as a list. So that's a look at lists and how we can use them. Very useful. And it's important to remember the different ways that we can change items within a list. So a list is a collection of data or a collection of items stored in one place. Can contain multiple data types. We can add using the append function, which will put the data we want entered in the last position of the list, which is why it goes in this order. So Di Maria and Smalling, De small and Di Maria Rooney Van Persie. So each time we append, it adds to the end. Then we looked at insert, which we can use to put within a specific position, and that's just Manchester United.insert. This one relates to the different positions. Remember, the positions start from 0 for lists in Python, and then followed by the object we actually want to insert. Then we looked at popping, which removes an item from the list. And then we looked at how we can work out the length and return an integer value for the length of a list, i.e. count the number of items that are in the list, and how we can also convert strings into lists. So that's some very useful list functions.